So tell us exactly what you do, because I'm not even sure. I know you're Miss CEO on Instagram, but what do you do exactly?
Yeah, so I'm a financial planner, and all in all, just it's helping people multiply, protect, and grow their money. Whether that's, just teaching them the loopholes of how the wealthy invest tax-free, or just simply putting them on a financial path to just starting their saving, clearing up their debt. I work with a lot of realtors because, now they come into this newfound, we could call it wealth, and they don't know what to do from there. They go buy their BMW, so it's creating that financial discipline for them that really is just a priority.
So you sort of sound like a financial advisor.
Yeah, the difference is we really want to promote more financial education and awareness than a dependence. Because with a financial advisor, it's like, okay, I'll take your money, I'll do all of the advising for you, I'll do all of the management for you, but if I pass away tomorrow, can you explain to me what you have?
Right. So I would imagine maybe you have some sort of like monthly fee. Is that how it works?
No, so actually, I work for a brokerage, and the clients don't pay us a dime. We work simply through like referrals, word of mouth. We have all of these companies, over 250 companies, that they pay us to be able to bring our clients in. So for client acquisition, they pay us out of their marketing budget. So that really allows me to just I work especially with like the Hispanic community.
Hmm.
Um, Instead of me just like telling them like, oh, hey, you should only buy from this one company, all of these companies work for me. I sit down, look at my clients' needs, I look at their goals, and then whatever company they decide to work with pays me out of their marketing budget because I brought them a client.
Very interesting. And then what does that company do? Are they financial advisors, the other
They're
company?
just like financial institutions. We're the ones that do the planning in between. So
Mhm.
we're the ones that sit down with our clients, walk them through the whole process, walk them through what different options they have, what avenues they should take based off of where they are and where they want to go. And we're like that gap filler in between. And then we find what company is going to be best that fits their needs. So that offers them either flexibility if they want guarantees based off of the things that they tell us that they need from their analysis. So these companies are like BlackRock, Nation,
Oh, the
Fidelity.
big
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah. No small pups here.
I
That's what
got you. So
yeah.
I didn't know you were working with them. Okay. So what is the name of your company?
It's Revolution Financial Management.
Okay, nice. And how long have you been with them?
So I've been with them for almost 3 years now, but I've been in the industry for almost five.
And tell us how you got started. What inspired you to join that industry?
So really it was just like seeing the struggle around me. Just being in the Hispanic community, you can just imagine everyone is definitely overworked and underpaid. So I was always like looking for a way out and looking for something different. So my whole interest started when I was in high school. And I took a marketing class, and then they started talking about like these tax advantages and like how the wealthy just avoid taxes and how the wealthy climb into that top 5%. So when I was like 16, 17, I was learning a whole bunch of, or the majority of what I've learned now. And when I was 18, I got my first business license, which was in life insurance. And then I started in a life insurance company when I was like 18, 19, got super sick and super stressed
Oh,
because of the pressure. As you can imagine, my market was like all 18, 19-year-olds.
oh,
And
really?
also, the company I worked for, the products that they provided, I couldn't help my own people.
Mm.
They couldn't afford them. So that was a huge, huge thing for me when I was looking for somewhere to invest my time. I wanted to be able to just help my community out, even without them being able to afford it, whether it's just, putting them on the right path and revisiting with them a year later, 6 months later.
Mhm.
That was my biggest importance. Is like, where can I create a huge significance? Where can I create a huge impact with the resources that I have? So that's why I ended up here.
Very interesting. So Catherine, tell us about your very first year.
Interesting to say the least. I would say it was very character building, very humbling, because you have to break the mold of what you've been conditioned to know.
Mm.
Right now, thankfully, I learned a lot of this when I was very young, when I was in high school, but it still didn't change the fact that I needed to change what I grew up seeing. Right. So It was a lot of unlearning behaviors,
Mhm.
unlearning the employee mindset, unlearning habits, and really like transforming my identity through discipline. So I had to be consistent, and I realized that consistency wasn't about how frequently you do something. It's about putting in your mind the kind of person that you want to become and then just transforming your habits into becoming that person. So it's more about an identity. So that first year was more about just creating my identity and forming those habits to become, the person that I am today, to become Miss CEO, to eventually evolve into this woman.
Right. So you mentioned the employee mindset. Dig into that for a little bit. What is the employee mindset?
The employee mindset is just being conditioned to thinking like, okay, you're only worth what I'm telling you you're worth. You can only have a set amount of days. You're being controlled. You have no true freedom. And because you're being controlled, it's like if you're in a factory line, right? Like, I have to clock in every day. I have to do this. I can only go on lunch break from this time to this time. I only have 6 days free. I only have this. Like, I can only show up for my family this amount of days if I miss a day of work. Like, you're very automated thinking, right? So when you go against the grain, everyone thinks that you're crazy, but it's because you start to step away from that factory line and start to oversee the production. You see why everyone is there, right? And it's just more of like a trapped mindset where people are very comfortable with what they're familiar with, right? And that's kind of why they stay in the position that they're in. They see people around them just going into that mold of that 9 to 5, or going to get that college education, and then going and getting a good job to pay off their debts and stuff and live a good life. But the mindset more is just about who you think you are as a person. How do you value yourself? Like, do you see yourself only being worth $20 an hour? And
Mhm.
it really is just about like, how do you value your time? Do you value money more than you value your time? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, some people call it the slave mindset. The thing is, it's really, really hard. Let's just rewind time and say that we're 18. It's really, really hard as an 18, 19-year-old to go from a student straight out of high school or even out of college straight to a CEO without any 9 to 5 job. That's really, really hard. And like, now, my personal philosophy is that, if you want to work a 9 to 5 job for a few years, that's fine. Like I did school safety. I was a school safety officer for 10 years, great benefits. But the thing is, it's so hard to go from straight out of high school straight to a CEO. And like I think that everyone has a different path. Some people actually like their jobs, but personally, I'm at the point now where I'm a real estate agent. I'm done with the 9 to 5 gig. Like I've done it. And I do it. I did sort of feel like a slave. But how do you go from like an 18-year-old straight to a CEO?
So it wasn't like a clean linear path, right? I
Mhm.
don't also want to give like that misperception. Like,
Uh,
when I had left the life insurance, I realized like I had to go back to a 9 to 5.
mhm,
So I had to get myself back in a place where I couldn't just work on commission. So I went and I got a position as a paralegal, and I worked there for a bit. And I say that it's necessary, especially for young people, to at least, I wouldn't say go straight to just being here. You should go out into the real world, because that's experience. It doesn't matter what it is, whether you're out selling hard-boiled eggs in the middle of the street or you're working at an office job. Like, you need that experience with people to learn human nature, to
mhm,
also learn how to interact with other people, because at the end of the day, being a boss or being a CEO or being whatever in whatever industry you're in, it's all about knowing people, human nature, how to interact with them. But you can't do that if you're just, secluded and focused on one thing. Plus, I think that being in a 9 to 5 is also humbling and eye-opening at the same time, because you realize like, okay, everyone is following the same regimen, and at one point or another, they end up at the same destination. Now you come to the decision like, do I want to end up in that same destination, or am I going to break what's comfortable and familiar to head here and know that it's not going to be linear? Know that it's going to be ups and downs
yep,
and be okay with that.
mhm.
That's where that resilience has to come in. And I think that being in the workforce, you build that resilience because you see more and more, whether you want that or you don't.
Well, that's one difference between a 9 to 5 job and running a business. With 9 to 5 jobs, salaries actually tend to be linear. You know, they tend to go up every year. But when you run a business, your salaries are going to go up, down, up, down. It's very bouncy, very fluctuating. So, you know, just for the 18 and 19-year-olds and young people listening, there's nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5 job. It's whatever makes you happy. And just keep in mind that you can always leave later. You can always switch later. And, you know, like one reason why I love being an entrepreneur and being my own boss is because I suffered through the 9 to 5 first. So it's kind of like it makes you appreciate being an entrepreneur later on. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't change any of how my path went. Like from having that freedom at first to then going into the 9 to 5, like that's why I pushed so hard to then become independent because I was like, absolutely not. There's no way I'm staying stuck in a cubicle for 60 years. Like I see this lady working here for 20 years, and the only thing that she has to show is a little basket that they gave her and a 401k that won't even suffice her to retirement. So she'll be working here for the rest of her life, you know? So when you see the real reality of like what is the alternative, you'll do everything to not have that plan B. You'll run towards plan A at all costs with everything, with knowing the sacrifices, with knowing, the variable income, with knowing like how it's gonna be. Because you don't want to choose that life. So it's 100% fine to have that 9 to 5 at first. Like I don't think you should feel ashamed, but you're at that point and it doesn't come down to age, it just comes down to a maturity level.
Mhm.
Like you're at that point where I always say you can do three things. You can either comply, you can change, or you can complain. You're either going to do something about it and change it, you're either going to say it is what it is and just stick with it, or you're just going to go complain about it, and that's not doing anything and nobody wants to hear that. So just, you know, shut it up. In
Right. I
other words.
mean, complainers are not the ones that get to the top. It's the people who don't complain as much and the people who just push through. And, like if you are working a 9 to 5 job, which, most adults are, right? Most people watching this video work a 9 to 5 job that they don't really enjoy. And if you are in that position, you have to work after work after work after work. I was doing it for years. You have to, once you clock out at 5, 6, whatever time, you have to push and do whatever, run your own business, whatever it takes, be a realtor, whatever it takes. You have to work after work if you want to get out the first job. That's the only way. It's the only way. Is it Catherine or Kat? What do you like, Catherine?
You can interchange it.
Okay.
Most people interchange it.
I'll probably just go with Catherine, more professional. So, so you said you're a licensed as an insurance agent.
Yeah.
So, what other licenses do you have? Is that your only license, or?
No, I also have my notary license that I got when I was um working as a paralegal, and
Mhm.
then now I'm working on my 6 and 63, which are my broker licenses since I'm
Nice.
opening my brokerage in January.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah, those are the ones that I'm working on right now.
What kind of brokerage are you opening?
So it's gonna be still same in the financial industry, but instead of me just being under one agency, now I've brokered off and have ran my own agency.
Interesting. So that must take a lot of capital to open up your own brokerage.
It takes more effort because of the business that I'm in. Thankfully, like we get paid well. Obviously, like this is where the banks bring their money. This is the
Uh,
financial industry. So, and most of the business that we run is just from home. Most of my agents are actually how you were talking about part-time, where they're working a job, but they're also building something for themselves after that job is done, right? Because they understand they don't want to be there. So most of it is just virtual. I had an office in Long Island, and then there's another one out east in Long Island. But I'll be honest, I do most of my traveling and everything just straight from my computer. So although I am opening my brokerage, I don't even need a physical location. So it covers the overhead for me. Everybody that works underneath me is an independent broker. So I don't have to pay payroll. So it really does cut down all of those costs for me and allows me to just be more profitable to then pour that into other things. A big part of what I do is really just giving back. I'm very faith-based. The company that I work for is faith-based as well. So for me, it's always just what I get is from God, and what I give is out of my generosity. So
Very interesting because, 99% of businesses take a lot of capital to start. So this sounds like a very, very interesting model because it doesn't take a lot of capital to start. You said that the employees, you don't have to pay payroll because it's commission based, and then you probably get a small percentage of that. So this is a very, very interesting model to me because it's being a CEO without needing the capital first.
Yeah. So there is obviously like you cover your own licensing and your appointing and all of the contracting. You cover that, but it's way less than a traditional business model. And we actually work similar to a brokerage in real estate, where you have your broker, he has his agent, and then whatever they sell, he gets like a royalty commission based off of that, right? Same thing here. But all of you guys are independent contractors. So it's the same similar model, just in the financial industry aspect, where you cover your own licensing, they cover their own licensing, they cover their own contracting, they get paid by the companies, and all I have to do is oversee the team and then just be a leader, lead from the front, be an example of what they need to be, and just make sure that they're duplicating that high standard.
The only thing is that real estate brokers do have their own office, so that is a lot of overhead. So I'm assuming that your plan is to one day open up your own office.
Yeah. So I'm actually moving out of New York to Florida, and that's where we're going to open our office. But
Nice.
I used to have an office in Mineola. It was just me showing up, though, since everyone wants to meet over Zoom. That's why I decided to just move back and work from home.
Yeah, but didn't the office bring in some business at all, or?
I think it was more just like marketing and advertising, but it didn't make sense for me paying what I was paying there and then just having like a couple of clients come in a month when most people it's just convenient for them to meet over Zoom. So sticking with Zoom, that also gives me more flexibility for when I needed to travel. I didn't have to like worry about anybody going in or, any misscheduling mishaps. I just do it straight from my computer. So it definitely saves a lot on the overhead.
Right, because rent is not cheap, and obviously people are not just gonna walk into a random building. Like if anything, they're gonna probably find you through the internet. I'm assuming that that's how you find most of your clients through Instagram or.
No, so most of my clients actually come just from word of mouth. Since we
Okay.
don't charge our clients a direct, commission fee or direct advisory fee, the only thing that we ask for is referrals. So that's how I've been able to build my business. And of course, when you do right by people, they'll continue sending you people. And especially like in my community, in the Hispanic community, it's like you help one person and they're willing to refer everyone to you just because you did right by them.
Right, yes. Word of mouth is very, very powerful. I would actually argue that word of mouth might even be more powerful than social media, or maybe that's
Oh,
just,
100%.
yeah.
100%.
Social media is pretty powerful though if you have a lot of followers. So have you ever thought about putting money into ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads?
So I actually currently pay somebody right now to like oversee my Instagram, like tell me when to post, what to post, what kinds of content, all of that. I don't know what he would be labeled as, like social media manager,
Yeah, yeah,
creator,
yeah.
something like that. So I pay him to be able to help me out, like grow my following as well, just create more exposure. But in all honesty, like the majority of my success, the majority of my business was built off of word of mouth because it just already brings that trust and credibility. So it's like I don't have to sit here and warm up the market or try to convince you of anything. Like if somebody recommends you to a restaurant, you're going in there with high expectations and excitement, right? It's the same thing here. They're coming in here with high expectations and excitement. And when they get met with that, it just continues the cycle of referrals.
Have you ever thought about getting your real estate license?
Oh my gosh, I get asked this so much. Yes. Yes, I have actually a whole team of realtors that work with me as well because this goes very hand in hand, right? There are certain clients that don't qualify to buy a house. They need some financial planning. So they send the referral business, they get a split fee for that. So I work with so many realtors, but no, I actually wholesaled a piece of land back in August, and that was it without a license. And that kind of just came through connections. But yeah, I think that later on in the future, definitely. But right now, while I'm just focusing on building my brokerage with my partner, that is our main focus right now. Once that's done, once we have those things set in stone, then yeah, definitely, for sure. I wouldn't do it to, sell real estate or any of that. I would really just do it to have that under my belt for my own self. Like why pay someone else when I can manage my own assets on that sense? I've even been asked like to do like I think it's called a loan officer.
Yeah.
So I've looked into that as well. And I really just want to do it in a perspective of just like, hey, how can I manage this? How can I know the back end information so I don't have to pay someone to do it, and I keep that revenue for myself.
Right. Yeah, I would imagine it would make life a lot easier, even though you do have to pay like MLS dues and brokerage fees. But no, now you have access to MLS, you don't have to go through somebody else. And then,
Mhm.
like it would just make life a lot easier on your end, I'm sure. So, Catherine, walk us through a normal day in your shoes. What time do you wake up? Coffee or tea? What kind of coffee or tea? Walk us through a normal day.
So typically I'm usually up around like 6. I go to the gym and then I have like my prayer time and my Bible study time.
Right.
So that's a non-negotiable for me before I even start my day. Then usually like I start my first meetings like around 9, depending on the day, like 9, 9:30. And it goes on like especially right now while I'm in my 90-day run. I'm literally in the middle of my 90-day run right now. It's just been hectic. So I can go anywhere from working like yesterday was 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. to sometimes it's like super hectic, like 9 a.m., 2 p.m., and then I'm booked until 11 p.m. at night. So right now, it's definitely been just a lot of appointments, a lot of meetings, a lot of networking, a lot of exposure being created, a lot of managing my team. I try not to drink coffee or tea though,
Really?
just water. Yeah, it's so funny. I actually have this. It says, I'm billing you for this conversation. This is like my daily hydration right here. But yeah, that's pretty much a day in my life. And then the weekends are just dedicated to Bible study, myself, church, and then back to the grind again on Monday.
So just to clarify, you only drink water?
Yeah, really only water. I don't like juice. Iced coffee, like occasionally. Like if I go out, then I'll have like an iced coffee. But yeah, other than that, it's just water or green tea,
Alcohol?
espresso martini.
No,
Occasionally when I go out.
oh, you do? Okay, yeah. Because I was gonna
Yeah.
say like only water, like that's so healthy, And I'm not just judging. That's great, but I wish I only drank water myself. So so right now, do you have employees right now?
So I have a team that I oversee. I don't like calling them employees. They're just like my business partners. But yeah, I do.
Okay. So but are they a team or are they employees? Like which one are they?
No, they're a team. They're not my employees.
Okay, gotcha. So I'm assuming though that your goal is to have later on to have many employees. Is that a correct assumption?
I really only need like 2 or 3, just like an assistant to her, and then a coordinator, somebody that's just gonna be running the base shop and coordinating all of the paperwork and making sure all those apps are going through. Thankfully, now my brokers, they allow me to use their coordinator, and she's been such a huge help when it comes to that. But obviously, eventually, when I broker out in January, I have to get my own.
So when are you planning on moving to Florida?
That would be in April. That's like the deadline.
Okay.
Um, yeah, just because my broker, she's given birth and I'm really super close to them. They've known me. He was actually my teacher in high school. He's how
Oh,
I got introduced to this business. Yeah.
interesting. Interesting.
And they're having their first baby. So I want to be out there just to give them a break. They've done everything for me and really have put me just in the position that I'm in now. So just to be there for them and be present with them and help them just run their business as well in the meantime. That's the goal by April, be over there.
But why do you have to move to Florida? Like, because everything's via Zoom, right? So why do you have to move to Florida?
It's always just been like a dream of mine and a goal of mine since high school. I've been wanting to do it. It's also great business over there. There's a lot more. New York is very regulated when it comes to the financial industry, so you make a lot more commissions. Like you're making 35 to 40% more just
Wow.
in Florida. The clients, they get more benefits. Like I work with a lot of realtors. Somebody sells a home, they run into a lump sum of money. Florida, they get a 30% bonus just for investing their money, kind of
Wow.
like a sign-up fee. So there's a lot more perks in my business, in my industry. Yeah, it's you can do it through Zoom as well, but there's nothing like going out there, networking, meeting people face to face, having that lunch, creating those relationships, building that trust. So, and plus the palm trees, like who doesn't like that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it doesn't the weather doesn't hurt, the warm weather. I personally love the warm weather, and also the cost of living is cheaper in Florida. So there are multiple reasons. It's funny because like there's such a large percent of New Yorkers whose end goal is to move to Florida, but the cost of living there is rising, and
Yeah.
the summers there, which is like right after April, get ridiculously hot. So there's that
Mm.
to consider too. So I think one dream of mine would be like to have one house in Florida and one house in New York and kind of go back and forth, like for them maybe spend the summers in New York and the winters there because the summers here are perfect. The summer
Yeah.
in New York, like weather-wise, it's perfect. So, and in Florida, it's ridiculous. So Catherine, what is your favorite thing about your job?
Oh my gosh, easily just like working with my clients, like just it's something so powerful. I can't even describe it to you, like the reward of helping somebody else and seeing that relief on their face. Like I would do this even if it was free. Like if I wasn't getting paid anything. Like I would do this if I was making no money, just seeing how alleviated they feel. Because so many of them, and I'm sure you can agree, like the number one emotion correlated to money is fear. A lot of them come in here with like that fear of either getting finessed or that fear of just like not knowing what to do, and just seeing like that peace of mind come over them afterwards. Like there's nothing more rewarding than that. Nothing. I love my job because of that. I love my job because I get to help out so many people and their children and their family, and you get integrated with them, and then you give someone the ability and the shot to just say, hey, like you have some hope, like that's the best, hands down best part.
Nice. You're changing lives. You're changing lives by the day, and also just the freedom, because you don't have a 9 to 5 job again. You wake up when you want, you go to sleep when you want. So I'm willing to bet that you work 7 days a week.
Pretty much, except for like I always try to give myself one day of rest, which is like my Sabbath, and usually that's like Saturday, because that's like Bible study. I mean, I have one meeting in the morning, but I just plug in my headphones. Saturday is just Bible study, and then afterwards I go to like a cafe with my friend and we just do like a book study. So that's like a day to just feed my brain and feed my soul.
Yeah, which is great, and but remember, even an email counts as work, right? Or even like texting, like so, even those things count as work. But it is nice
Yeah.
to have that rest day, that mental health day, because at the end of the day, we could talk about money all day, but at the end of the day, mental health does come first, and mental health does come before money. For the
Yeah.
people listening, especially the young people, mental health does come before money. So I have a kind of an interesting question. What is your least favorite thing about your job?
Dealing with crybabies.
Good one.
I'm just gonna say it how it is. I think a lot of people, this is good also for young people to hear, especially my generation, they think that success is gonna be microwaved, right? They think that it's supposed to be fast because everyone is selling a course online and they're making millions of dollars in a month and this and that. And then they come to the reality of like, okay, you want the passive income, you got to put in the active work, and then you get the crybabies, the people that are like, oh, but this is so hard and this and that. Like, you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision, and you have to be clear on that decision. Like, I'm your boss. Well, I'm not your boss, I'm your leader. I'm not your therapist, right? That's number one. If you want to cry, then I'm very solution oriented. I will help you. I will walk you through. Obviously, I'm not cold hearted. But my biggest thing is like, if you say you're going to do something, then do it. Don't complain. I'm allergic to excuses. I will swell up and log off of the Zoom and die like, if I get an excuse. So don't come with me with that, and I have to deal with that with certain people that want to come in this industry because they see it on TikTok or whatever it is. And now they see, okay, you got to do the work, and it's excuse after excuse. And at that point, it's like either do something about it or get out of the way.
Right, yeah. Back to like the young people, there are a lot of like 18, 19-year-olds, or even people in the early 20s who have this idea that you can get rich really, really fast. And they don't know the world yet. Like I'm 34. I don't know how old you are, but I'm at the age where I know that getting rich is really, really, really hard,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with wanting to get rich, but expect to put in a tremendous amount of work. 18,
Yeah.
19, 20-year-olds, even 22-year-olds fresh out of college, they don't know the world. They don't know how hard it is to get rich. They see these videos on TikTok and Instagram. They think it's easy. Get rich quick, it's a myth. The amount of
Yeah.
people, I mean, yeah, maybe you can win the lottery, but that's 0.0000001% of people, So if your plan is to get rich, expect to suffer. Expect to
Yep.
suffer, expect to work hard, and like you said, you cannot be full of excuses. Excuses is the number one thing that's going to stop a person from getting rich. You got to put that shit away. You can't be full of excuses, and you have to expect to suffer. Like sometimes I'll be driving around, I'll see a mansion, I'll see a Porsche. The point that I'm at, the first thing I think about, man, that person had to suffer so much to get there.
Hmm.
That person had to suffer so much for that mansion. That's what I think, as opposed to, oh, it must be nice. You know what I'm saying?
100%. I think that a huge, especially social media, plays a big part into this is that they think there's this warped like virtual reality, right? Of like, okay, everything is gonna come fast. You have TikTok blowing up, e-drop, like drop shipping and all of this and that. And even in real estate, right? Like how many realtors come in and they get their license and don't even sell their first house, or they sell one house their first year, right? So it's like so many people are not ready to put in that work. Success is not microwaved. If you want success, it demands a price and you got to pay it upfront and in full. It's not layaway. There are no partial payments. Like you have to be willing to sacrifice everything and put everything on the line up front, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be. And if it's not for you, and if you're not ready for that, if you're not ready for that change, if you're not ready to sacrifice that for your freedom, then you need to reevaluate what you really want out of life and what's a priority for you.
Right. And not only does it take a lot of work, but it also takes a lot of risk. I've taken at this point hundreds of risks because I resell sneakers. I've taken hundreds of risks. And, like even in real estate, you have to spend thousands of dollars, especially your first year. It is not your regular 9 to 5 job. You have to spend
Yep.
thousands and thousands of dollars. So not only does it take a lot of work, like you said, but it also takes a tremendous amount of risk. So, that's definitely something for people who want to be entrepreneurs to think about. Catherine, tell us about one unforgettable experience you've had in your career.
I would say one of the best lessons that I've learned um, in my career, and something that was really unforgettable to me, was you as a person cannot stop because of where your mind is at. So, what I mean by that is, I had a whole team. I had grown them. I had poured so much love into them. I had invested everything into them when I had first started. And I was establishing myself. And then they all quit within a matter of a month.
Wow.
Of course, I was developing as a leader. So like my leaders told me like, hey, this is totally normal. Like you're gonna go through this phase because you're still growing as a person. And I remember I was so emotionally invested into them that it had set me back. And it had hurt me so much because I'm like, what? Like I just poured everything I had into these people and they quit. Like all of them quit in a month. Like we were doing so well. That took a big hit to my finances. That took a big hit to my business. And then I realized like it had put me in a rut for a couple of weeks. And those couple of weeks, right? Like it set me back for a couple of months. So I realize you can't invest yourself emotionally. You have to get the work done regardless of how you feel because it's going to happen. People are going to quit. Business is going to not go through. There's a deal that might not happen. Somebody might pull out at the last minute. You have to be ready for that stuff and say, okay, regardless of you being here or not, regardless of you becoming a client or not, I am going to be successful because of the consistent work. So that was a huge lesson for me because I also learned my pitfalls as a leader. What holes I had to fix, what I had to do to get better, how I needed to grow to be able to lead a team that I have now that just pushes and is independent and is profitable and is consistent with what they do. So that was one of the greatest lessons. And it's so funny. It was like during one of the lowest moments,
Yeah.
right? That's where you usually find those best lessons because they're just unforgettable.
Right. I mean, the thing is, most learning comes from suffering or some sort of bad experience. Because if we have a good experience, it's like, oh, well, we already knew what how to get there, or we already knew that A would lead to B. But when we have a bad experience, now it's like, oh, generally speaking, it's often unexpected, and it's often like we didn't know that that was going to happen. So it is
Mhm.
generally bad experiences and painful experiences that teach us the most. So it's the very cliche, you need the L's to get the W's. You need to fall to learn and to pick yourself back up. And so cliche, but so true. So for
Yeah.
for, for you young people listening, expect a lot of losses, expect a lot of things to not go your way, and also expect to learn from those losses. Like I would say maybe 10% of my sneakers that I sold were losses. So expect that. And also same thing with real estate. I made a lot of bad investments, a lot of risks that I shouldn't have taken, but you have to experiment, 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 especially your first year. So,
Mhm.
Catherine, approximately how much per month do you spend into your business?
It's a good question.
I know you don't have a tremendous amount of overhead.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's more just like personal expenses.
Hmm.
Um, like paying for the subscriptions and like the platforms
Uh,
to be able like Zoom and just like my calendar and my email and all of that stuff. That really is where it is, but it's not much. Like I wouldn't say it's more than like $1,500 a month, $1,200 a month. Like it's
that's
no
still
more
that's
than
still yeah, that's still counts. 1,200 a month. That's like rent almost.
yeah, but I wouldn't say it's more than that. That's like I would say I travel also often. I travel maybe like the most is like once every other month. But sometimes it's consistent and maybe like two, three times a month. So that's where like that 1,200 mark comes in with like the traveling. Um, but other than that, just with like my consistent bills and then obviously like sometimes sending my teammates like a book or getting them like a gift card or something if they accomplish something. Um, but yeah, with travel, I would say like 1,200. Other than that, I would say maybe like three, $400 if that.
Right, but that still counts as something, because some people don't
Yeah.
even have that, so that still counts as something. So yeah, I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that for the people listening, you gotta expect to spend money, because and that you don't even have an office and you're spending that, which is interesting. It was higher than I thought it was. Um, Catherine, how do you filter your clients? Like, do you just work with anybody? Do you just take anybody, or how do you filter your clients?
So the way that we filter them is first we do an analysis with them, right? Like we sit down with everyone because at the end of the day, it's not like, okay, I can only help you invest $10,000. Like we can sit down with anybody, but whether I'm able to help you or not in this moment will come through in your analysis because we have to look at what your needs are, right? What your goals are. Some people are so tight in their budget where they don't even have like $10 to have room. So then that conversation is more about building the financial discipline habits, revisiting that conversation again a couple months down the line, see where they're at, and then becoming a client or having them become a client with us. Um, but most people we can help because we have variety. We have some things that are just meant to protect them where they can get coverage for like $25 a month, right? Just to make sure that their family is good, that we're not opening GoFundMe's and stuff, and you're not leaving that headache behind to your family. Then we have certain things that are like, that sexy, tax-free, no losses, guaranteed growth. Like that stuff obviously costs more. So we offer a variety to our clients. It really just depends on where they are, whether we can work with them in that moment or it needs to be a conversation we revisit later.
Interesting, right? But you do take people who are, let's just say that someone has a very low salary and a very low credit score. You are open-minded to those people.
Yeah, they're the ones that need most financial education, you
Right,
know?
right.
So 100%.
Okay, so just for the people listening, because there might be some people listening who fit that category. So I'll make sure to drop all your info below. So what separates your company from the other companies that are doing the same thing?
Our integrity,
Hmm.
hands down, our integrity. You look at Wall Street, they're not going to work with you unless you're making more than a quarter million, and they're going to charge you high fees. I think because also we're a faith-based, and a lot of us operate out of our faith, like we really, really look to do what's right by people. Even though we have some people that come in with a low salary, right? Somebody else in the industry that needs to make a quota, we're not quoted. So they need to make a quota, they're going to make a sale on you, even if it's a quick sale, even if it's not the right thing. We have a lot of suitability that we have to go through. So no matter what, we always have to make sure what's right for the client. And that's just naturally how we all mold ourselves. I would say that mixed with the kind of people that qualify to work with us here, like it's not like everyone can just sign up. I know like when you become a realtor, you have to just go and get your license and you become a realtor. Like you can't just do that here. You have to sit down with me, you have to sit down with a broker, you have to sit down with somebody to see if you're a fit. Our main bread and butter and what makes us successful is just the kind of people who we are. Since everyone that comes to us is a referral, they need to trust you. You need to be willing to do that personal growth. This is not the place for people who want to be comfortable and want to stay where they're at. Like you are going to personally develop. You can't be valuable to anybody if you're not valuable to yourself, you know? So that's number one. The fact that we work as a team here, I get to leverage people, even if I can't hop on an appointment, somebody else is taking it for me. My business is running automated, whether I'm on there or not. Right now it's 10:30, an appointment started for me. I'm here, talking to you. So just really having that freedom. I think most entrepreneurs, they don't realize the difference between being self-employed and being a business owner. And here you really have the ability to become a business owner. Whether you're there or not, the checks are coming. Whether you're running business or not, that money is coming. The business doesn't stop just because you stop. So that's what
Right.
really differentiates us.
So it sounds like your business is for people who want to change. It's for people who want to maybe go a different direction. It sounds like your business is for people who are in a position that might not be the best and are looking for change and are looking for progress and are willing to put in the work to get there and are willing to. I know it's kind of a harsh word, but I used it before. Are willing to suffer. I know that that's kind of a harsh and negative word, but I think that there's a tremendous relationship between suffering and success. So that's the reason why I keep using that word because you do have to suffer to be successful. So Catherine, approximately what percentage of your leads lead to actual closings or lead to actual paychecks?
I would say around 70% of them. Obviously, like the 30%, they don't qualify at this moment. We revisit that conversation. But because we offer such a variety of different products on our platforms, because we work with so many different companies, that most of them have a need in some way, shape, or form. Whether you're wealthy and you just want to know where you can put your money to protect it from the government and have it grow tax free, or whether you're a single mom that just needs to make sure if anything happens to you tomorrow, that your family is protected, and whether you're the only one that's working, you only have $20 to spare every month. Like we have such an array to fit so many different people that closing them is easy. It's just
Yeah.
what are your priorities and what do you want to do right now about it? And are you going to build that financial discipline to do that? So
Yes.
it's around 70.
Financial discipline is one thing that's not taught in school, right? It's something that you learn once you graduate from high school or once you graduate from college. And there are some good stuff on YouTube. I don't want to knock YouTube. Like YouTube does have some good financial advice, in my opinion. You have to be careful who you watch, but financial discipline and financial advice, it's I was not taught that in high school or college. So that's something that you kind of you got to learn on your own, or you can even watch YouTube videos. And there are some good people on YouTube. So Catherine, you did answer this to an extent, but let's dig in a little further. What is your long-term plan?
Move to Italy.
Really?
Yeah, move to Italy. I actually want to show you like
You're
my
not
home.
Italian, are you?
No, no, I'm not. Everyone thinks I am, but I'm not. And then this bad boy right here is called the Lionheart Yacht. It's what I've been working for my whole life. Like I always wanted just I don't even want the huge Malibu lifestyle. Like I literally want a little village, little cottage, huge farm in Italy and just to be able to look down on my cliff and then see my yacht parked right there. And then like that's the dream life. And truthfully, like that's what I work for. I even DM'd like the CEO of the yacht charter company, and he designs these super yachts. And I was like, hey, so you're gonna remember my name. How much do I need in order to buy this yacht? And he was like, you need $100 million of discretionary income to even be considered to buy this yacht. So I reverse engineered that. Okay, if I need $100 million, I want this by the time I'm 35. What do I need to do on a on a monthly consistent basis, on a daily consistent basis? What does my input activity have to look like in order to achieve that? What do I need to do for the next 13 years of my life to be able to get that? Right? And that's just what I work towards. People think I'm a madman, but everybody has their goals, right? That's my goal. That's something that I dreamed about. That's something that I want. Some people want the big fancy cars, they want the helicopters. I only want my private jet so I don't have to deal through TSA. Like it's not even for bougie reasons, but for me that represents everything. It represents like I've built it from the ground up. It represents exclusivity. It represents the freedom to just go wherever, whenever, and have the means to. I want my children to experience that. I want my children to experience the world. I don't have any kids yet, but I work so tirelessly just to have that. Like that's why it's my home screen. I have it as a reminder every single day. Like I pick up the phone, I make 10 calls, I know where it's gonna get me, you know?
That's actually a really smart idea to put it as your home screen for inspirational purposes. That I should probably do the same thing. You said that. I also wanted to add to that that I'll give an example. My goal is at least $100 million, and you could think that's unrealistic, and that's fine. But the thing is, though, even if I fail, I'll still have more money, right? Even if I make it to 5 mil, I'll still have more money. Even if I make it to 4 mil, I'll still have more money. So even if I do fail, at least I'll still have more money along the way. So for the people out there that think that my goal is unrealistic or that your goal is unrealistic, at least we'll have more money. At least we'll make it, somewhere along the way, and at least we won't be broke at the very least. You
Yeah.
mentioned discretionary income. What is that?
Discretionary income is like FU money, like money that you just have like sitting around, like play money basically that you have. Like you have your money that cover your utilities, you have your money that cover your monthly expenses, you run your business, all of that. And then you have the money that's just like play money that's left over after all of your priorities are taken care of. That's discretionary income. So to even be considered to purchase this yacht, I have to have that. So if I have to have that, how much do I need to be making? Right, on an annual basis? What other stream? That's why real estate, it's one of the most pivotal pieces on the board in the game of money, because that's where a lot of the wealth lies, so um it's just about now creating those streams of income, those avenues of income to make that money, get my yacht, and retire and live my life.
That's the dream. Yeah, I never heard that term, discretionary income. So thank you for introducing me to that term. Do you have any tips for new people in your business?
Yeah, don't quit,
Hmm.
and understand that failure is not the opposite of success, it's a part of success. The more that you fail, the closer you are to succeeding. I know a lot of people take that to heart. Me personally, when I first started, I definitely took that to heart because I was like, no, like I'm letting everything down. But I realized like all of the successful people follow that pattern. I'm in that pattern. They're just a little bit further down the road than I am. So definitely don't quit and keep failing. Like you're gonna learn through that. You like you say, you have to suffer through that. And it's not easy, but it is so worth it. And another thing that like completely changed me was realizing your most precious asset is your time and your energy. It is like currency. So spend it well and invest it wisely, whether it's in this industry, whether it's in whatever industry, like make sure that wherever you're allocating your time, you're going to get a good return out of it. And understand that not everything shoots up, right? Bitcoin had its up, it had its down. Real estate has its up, it has its down. Financial markets, they have their ups, they have their downs.
Hmm.
So please remember to look at the bigger picture and don't forget.
There were two words that stuck out in my head. You said keep failing. I think the next time that someone asks me, what is the key to success or how do I succeed? I'm gonna say keep failing. And
Yeah.
it's true, right? Back to what we were saying before, you have to fail to learn. You have to fail to learn to succeed. So the next time someone asks me what is the key to success, I'm gonna say keep failing. I think
Yes.
I think no, I think that that's good. It's what people need to hear. And also like it makes it easier to fail. It makes it easier to fail when you know that you need to fail to succeed. It makes it
Yes.
easier because the thing is, failures can hurt. We've all been there, especially us. We're not brand new. We've all been there. Failure hurts, but it makes it easier mentally and emotionally to know that to know that you have to fail to succeed. Uh,
Yeah.
Catherine, where can people find you?
So you can connect with me on social media. I have my business card also in my bio, so you can always send me a message there. And we can always just set up a time to just talk and discuss more, whether it's you wanting to explore how to get in the industry or whether it's how we can sit down and see if there's a way we can help you. That's where they can find me. And just one last thing, because you said something that like really stuck out to me, especially for the young people.
Mhm.
Like I'm pretty young myself, right?
Mhm.
I'm 22 years old, but I've been doing this.
22?
Yeah.
Oh
So
wow.
I'm 22 years old, but I've been doing this since literally I'm 16 years old, like getting into the financial industry, got my license literally like the minute that I graduated. But understand that it wasn't microwaved success. It took a lot of failure. And I'm the first, generation first born from my mom. So you can imagine how difficult that conversation was, like saying, like, hey, I got accepted to college, but I'm dropping out, right? You have to deal with rejection. That's a part of failure. You have to deal with anxious moments. You have to deal with procrastination, right? Failure doesn't always just mean like, oh, I didn't accomplish something. Like, it's did you surrender to those daily battles, right? If you surrender to those are failures too. But you got to pick up, you got to keep going, and you got to keep confronting them and facing them till you overcome them. So just keep going at it. I know so many people in my generation that they just give up after 1 or 2 months, and it's like, did 1 or 2 months in your job make you 10K a month? Didn't think so. Keep going, you know? So that's my last little tidbit there.
Yeah, and I didn't know you're 22, but that's incredible because I feel like you're in such a incredible position. You have so much time ahead of you. So I have a good feeling about you, Catherine. It was great talking to you.
Yes, I appreciate it. Take care, Christian.
All right, take care, Catherine. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.